Hello there. Welcome to Case Study Preseen Guide and likely questions and the like based on the Preseen case study that is out. And the purpose of this video is to serve as a guide for everyone that is about to write case study. We all know it's a subject that is peculiar, especially as some of us assume it to be. But for some of us is, of course, the easiest of them all. I've never failed case study, and using this opportunity to as much as possible assist so many to experience the same, the joy of not writing case study twice. Having said that, this is what is expected of you. In this video, we are going to quickly look at the question. I will just snapshot. I encourage everyone to try to have the case study Preseen that is out already to augment this one, because we can't take much of our time reading the questions, though I will try so that at least some of us we have idea of the questions that may, the instructions, the scenario created, then the seemingly questions that I may be proposing, that may the likely area as a guide, and equally what we need to read more before the time of the exams. Basically, this is the purpose and what we be covering in this video. So it is the expectation that we should familiarize with the case study, which is already preseen by everybody. Also, try to undertake research as we, there are some that will tell us as a guide that, okay, read so topic or read so course to guide, because case study is encompassing subject. Having said that you need to research into some other areas, it is expected by that now you should analyze the financials and know how to analyze. We are going to get there too. Also, the case study want to test her ability to assimilate and equally use the information, because it is in the usage of the information we read that we know that we actually assimilate the scenario, and it is 20% of the mark. Also, there will be integration of structuring problems and we are to prefer solution. 20% for preferring solution to questions and the usage of our information, 20%. Also, before we can prefer solution, that we must apply judgment. Judgment is required. Decision-making ability and processes will be tested too, and it is 20%. Also, we must draw conclusion, and please pay attention to this because this may not come up again when we journey on. In concluding in any matter of writing, you must tie it together to the objective. Let's say, for example, the objective of that writing or your write-up in the case study is maybe the financial or trend analysis. When you are concluding, you must tie it to some key trends that you've observed, the implication of those observations, and recommendation if there be need be, and you conclude. And your conclusion should not be too elaborate. You just tie everything together as one. Basically, that is the logic in conclusion. Please don't forget. Always tie your conclusion to the objective of what you are writing about. It is expected from us to demonstrate integrative and multidisciplinary skill. That is, we are going to touch on so many courses that we've learned in the process of becoming a chartered or chartered accountants. Presentation. The way now you know it, you know what you want to write and you've written it. But how did you structure your write-up? So you need to present it very well and put appendices. Appendices simply supports what we've written. That is, okay, let's say the gross profit is 2 million, but before we get to gross profits, there are incomes, there are other incomes and the like. So those can form appendices to the main subject that you are looking at, which is your gross profit. I hope we understand. So appendices basically is to support our write-up. Having said that, now and establish the expectation of the course and the subject matter, I will move on now to quickly review the Preseen question before guiding us as regards some questions, likely areas that we need to read more on, and likely areas and solution I will be profiling right about now. Okay, so this is the case study Preseen questions that I want to believe you have handy now. So I will quickly just review it so that we can be on the same page by the time we are structuring what could come out, likely idea of areas to read more on and the like. So this is the question, and I will scroll and pinpoint some areas that I've highlighted so that we will not waste our time on question review. We go straight to the guide as to likely questions and areas you should quickly prepare more for. So basically, there are 4 aspects of the scenario created, and now your name is Thomas Chukwudi. Don't forget, your name is Thomas Chukwudi, at least for now. Take it as it is, because that name is important to you by the time you are trying to write as much as possible. Don't forget, you may need to mention that your name. Having said that, you are employed in audit firm called Shiwelu, Adedigba and Kamal and Co. Chartered Accountant. Then there is a client called Dudley. And as we continue, we will see why they use Dudley this time around, Dudley Cement. So they are going to give us the financials, 3 years financials, and equally the proposed growth strategy that the board had in mind. Now, you as the employee of Chikwelu, Adedigba and Kamal, Chartered Accountants, all these names may be required by the time that you want to write, so please have them in mind. You see, I highlighted it. So your responsibility now as training of an accounting firm and the like, preparing detailed financial analysis to identify areas of weaknesses, profile likely solution. You see that they're already preparing you for the expectation that we spoke about before. Assessing operational and strategic business. I'm just snapshotting this because this is not where we are going, but we need this idea so that by the time we are preferring, we know where we are coming from. I hope we understand. That's why we are just doing this. If not, we will have just moved on. So you have to assess operational and strategic business environment and the like, and financial risk. And you will, as we continue to, I'm going to tell us why this financial risk is coming up. Also, it's your responsibility to assess your firm's clients' financials and business focus or the budget of the organization. Of course, you have to make a recommendation to your prospective board, that is the board of your clients. Also, you have to draft your report just like you are going to draft in case study. And the draft is going to the partner of your company. I hope we did not forget the name of our firm. This is the name of our firm. So draft to the partner to peruse and to approve before we can send to clients. Those are your responsibilities, and we need to understand all this because question may come along that line. Also, your responsibility demands that you keep abreast of business and economic environment, both nationally and internationally. Good for you. Okay, so Dudley Cement Nigeria, which henceforth shall be called DCN. The history of the company, the competitor they have, the board structure, and the management are under Exhibit 2. Now, your company, your client's company rather, is incorporated this year, 1956. All those, we have one or two things to do. This information they are giving us, June this. Okay. As at December 2020, I was the one that just highlighted all this. It could have been more, but some key areas that we need to look at as we begin to profile guide to seemingly questions that may come up or areas that we need to strengthen and study on time. As at December 31st, 2020, it had a market capitalization of approximately 448 billion. Also, DCN, that is Dudley Cement, had won several awards. And you know, for an organization or individual to win award, it simply tells us that they are good in some areas. Please don't forget, all these are important. So NSC has given them award and some other organizations, and for excellency in corporate governance matter. Please don't forget, one of the area they are awarded is for distinguishing themselves in compliance to corporate governance matter. Please don't forget, it's an area we need to touch on. Okay, who are their competitors? Their major competitor is Dangote Cement and Nigerian Cement. Please don't forget. And the three companies, that is your clients, DCN, Dangote, and Nigerian Cement, they have approximately 90% of the market share, cement market share. Okay, so basically the three of them are the market leader in the industry. This is the board structure. I'm going to move on. I hope we can see it. This is the board and the people and the management staff. So DCN had mission, and the mission is to be leading company in the cement industry. Don't forget, of course, they have vision, they have core values and the like. Also, I highlighted corporate social responsibility, which we do call CSR, and sustainability. For some of us that had already done CSMA or corporate strategic management and ethics, we must have touched on sustainability, which many times I know many of us do not like it, but now it's an area that we may need to quickly refresh on. We are going to get there. It seems I'm already getting ahead of myself, but it's good. So sustainability is a likely area now, and our client is good along that line too, especially in the area of education, the environment as it relates to water, also social life as empowerment, talent discovery, development, sports, amongst others. So when we are talking about Dudley cement, sustainability, and social responsibility, these are the key areas. Please don't forget. Okay, so their corporate governance, basically they are awarded along that line, and their ancillary industry, basically they have to package the cement and the limestone will be needed, asphalt and other things. Okay, I highlighted that equally by using limestone ingredient, blah blah blah, the value chain, okay, it represents 0.5% of manufacturing GDP of the economy of the nation, and Dudley had provided 50,000 jobs. Wait a minute, this is not Dudley alone. I think we are talking about the industry. Let me read it so that we will not. By using limestone as a main ingredient, DCN, okay, so is our client now alone 50,000 jobs. Okay, so this is the statement of financial position. So definitely it tells us that financial analysis is an area too, but you will see that I've highlighted some areas when we get there too, which we're already getting into. I'm going to draw more attention to. So basically these are what we need to put in mind. Okay, Dudley Cement's proposed growth strategy. Now, this is business expansion strategy that the board had deliberated on. So, it is worthy of note that the company has no presence in some parts of the country. Don't forget. Also, more vibrant brands to the company's product offering. They want to add some new brands too. It's part of their business growth and expansion strategy. The board had concluded now, finally arrived at the following growth strategy for the next 2 years. Now, when we are talking about 2 years, is 2 years a tactical plan, a strategic plan, and the like? I will leave that for us to answer. Basically, it seems more or less a tactical plan because it's not up to even 5 years and the like. But that is just for understanding purpose. We have our core areas now to be guided on. So, existing cement operating in the parts of the country. So, in the next 2 years, they want to have some more existing branches, and they are proposing that their expansion will be by acquiring and merging, which we call merger and acquisition. You see that I shaded it, right? Basically it's going to come out along that line. Also, they are to build new cement plants where they could not merge, where there are other places, other brands that they can merge with, they will acquire them or merge. But where none exists, they will create one. That is what number 2 is telling us. Then they can go into franchise too. They can have franchise agreement, alliances and the like to manufacture and market the brand in Nigeria. Also, introduce 2 new products. They had in mind to introduce 2 new products which they call block plaster and falcon. Block plaster and falcon. Please don't forget. Basically, these are the information given to us. Let me pause a minute. Well, welcome back. Okay, so what are the areas that we need to be guided by and we need to look at? So those are the things that we need to go into right about now. And I'm going to be scrolling, reason being that I want us to be viewing on why questions may likely come from that area. Number 1, the name of our client. The name of our client is Dudley. And basically we observe now, we say we are the youth leaders tomorrow, but we know that the Dudleys are in charge. I hope we get it. The Dudleys are in charge, and many times case study we use what is actually happening in the life of a nation. So I hope we understand. So that's, I want to believe, the reason we are having Dudley now. So that is Dudley for you. Having said that, another area that likely question will come as a result of that is we have on the environment of our clients and advise our clients on the macro economy. Basically, PESTEL measures the macroeconomic factor that may affect a business, and the macroeconomic factor that may affect Dudley are under PESTEL. We'll be talking about the political factor may affect, the economic factor may affect, the social cultural may affect, the technological may affect, the environmental, generally ecology can affect, and the legal perspective or legal framework of things can affect the prospect of Dudley. So much we may have to do a bit of more reading in that regards, but be guided. That is an area that we work on. So pastel, those are the aspects of what pastel stands for. That is, P represent the political, talk about the political. Economics, talk about the inflation, talk about interest rates, overall economic growth, the GDP, it was mentioned in the question, and like the socio-cultural, like the votes that we just had, and the like, the tribal, the religious issue, everything coming together, and the like. You can talk about it. You can talk about technology, how technology will affect the production of cement and the like. Even the board spoke about it. Yes, the board spoke about it along the line. So you can discuss that. And the ecological too, like the limestone they are using. If limestone is not too close to the production factory and the like, talk about more transportation costs and the like, and they may not even have anything to produce if they do not have all those necessary material components of making a cement. Then the legal framework, if the formation of an organization is not easy, the organization may not even exist. If legal framework is not conducive, there may not be people that want to subscribe or even have an organization like that. And there are so many things you can quickly talk about. I will not want to overflog Pastel because there are so much more things that to talk about. We can equally be asked about potential risk that deadly cement might face in implementing the proposed growth strategy or expansion strategy. Do we remember about the strategy that the board wants to use? The merger and acquisition and the like. So this is another examinable area. And basically, when we are talking about potential risk in expansion, the integration issue, the coming together of different organizations under one umbrella, the mindset of the employee, how they see themselves, how they are to cohabit and the like, even the HR handbook will change and the like. You can talk about regulatory audit too, that they will need to cross in form of maybe new organization formation, in form of some legal framework to be dealt with and the like. You can talk about financial challenge because when organization merge, financing comes in. It may be in form of debt, may be in form of equity and the like. You can talk about those aspects. Competition now. Now it may when they merge, may be that now they've bought over their competitor, and it may not necessarily be. It's part of the challenge that they may face in the course of their expansion. Of course, economic conditions can talk about the fluctuation in the economy, the inflation, the recession, and its impacts, the consequence, the demand for cement products, and the like will be some of those things, challenges that they are going to face. Another question that may seemingly come out, which we need to be guided by. don't forget that we are not doing the exams. We are only guiding ourselves, please, to understand what we've been taught and to quickly review and revise some aspects of. See now that corporate strategic management and ethics is coming up for now. May not be the only one as we continue. So far, if you enjoyed this video, go and like it first of all, and make sure you subscribe and comment if need be. For those of us that are just joining, it is like 30 minutes now into the program. My name is Benga Olatunji FCA from G. James Associates channel. So if you are meeting me for the first time, please tell others to tell others as we continue to guide and think about seemingly questions that may come out, why such a question can come out, and how should we prepare for them. Okay, so the next question that most likely may come out, they can ask us based on the Preseen information. There are still some unseen information that will be added. Don't forget. But based on what we have and what we can think of, there could be a question like that we should assess Deadly Cements Nigeria Limited current market position within the Nigerian cement industry. Don't forget that three names were mentioned and they occupied 90% of the market share, right? Should I scroll there again? Or I want to believe that, yeah, I want to believe that was the reason we first of all went through the reading, so that at least we have idea. And please, I admonish us, let us have this question handy in our hands. I hope I can still quickly get where the 90% is, but without wasting time. Three companies were mentioned and they had 90% of the market share. Okay, so that's players. You give their names, and basically the scenario created does not give us full information as to whether DCN is the second, the third, or the first. So we basically know on the industrial level that DCN is one of the major players, and that DCN is seeking expansion and proposing expansion and growth strategy by merger acquisition, and also by creating a new business where they could not merge or acquire new organization. So that is their market position. They are leaders, or they are leader now as per our client DCN. Another area seemingly question that we may be asked based on scenario created is to evaluate the effectiveness of the corporate governance framework in DCN. And don't forget that this is DCN that had won award on corporate governance, right? They won different kinds of award on corporate governance. So we need to mention it that they are actually a strong company when it comes to corporate governance, when it comes to compliance. They are very effective. Mention some few names of the awarding organizations that has awarded them, because you can't just say they are good and they've been awarded. Who gave them award? Is it local award or international or foreign award? Mention it. These are the aspects of the expectation of our research that we started with. So you must be able to highlight your key points and nail it. Nail it. Okay. So another question that we can work on is SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis can come out. The strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats that DCN has may come out. And what are we going to do? What are your observations for DCN strengths? And what are the observations that you had as regards DCN's weaknesses? What opportunities do you think awaits DCN? Those are the things that we need to mention along with the threats thereof. So some strengths based on the scenario created. The company has a strong market position, is one of the best three, as we know. Also, it has a wide distribution network, even though there are still some areas in the country that they need to get into, and of course strategic decision had been made to reach there. So it's a good strength. Of course, the company's product portfolio is already diversified and they have many brands that are actually doing well in the market. The company also has a robust financial performance based on what we've seen, and we are still going to look at under the financial scenario basically that we envisage. The company corporate governance framework and management of compliance is very effective to the extent that they were awarded for excellence in it. So those are big, huge strengths that we need to mention. Of course, no one has a strength without weakness. DCN equally has its own weaknesses, and a few that we can highlight basically is that the company has limited presence in some parts of the country, and you know, everywhere people are building. So if their presence is not there, it means their money is going to somewhere else, right? So that's a weakness in the company's strategy. Also, dependence on the Nigerian market alone could make the company vulnerable to economic fluctuation. You understand? But if they are in different parts of the world, if an economy is facing a challenge, maybe in some other countries they are blooming, so the organization then has a diversified portfolio to absorb any shock from different fluctuation or experience in different countries. So that is another major weakness that you can talk about. Last but not the least that I'm going to mention under the weakness is that the product portfolio could benefit from the inclusion of more vibrant brands. Of course, wider customers will be reached, and of course the management, the board is already planning to work on that anyway, but for now it's a weakness. Of course, opportunities abound, and then we'll be talking about exploration of market expansion through merger, through acquisition, or new plants being developed in areas we could not match or acquire competitor. Also, research and development departments could introduce new products. It's an opportunity based on the research and what the expectation of the market, then we can sell more. Also, the international expansion is an opportunity that we need to explore and look into. The company could adopt innovative technology in production, in manufacturing, in packaging of cement bag and the like. Even the technology as to how quick the cement can cast, that is concentrate and become let's say a block and like. So how fast, you see, does it take an hour before? Now we can add some ingredient that within 30 minutes that we mix cement with sand and the like, it becomes concrete. So technology, we need to ride on technology. Of course, there are threats to the survival of DCN in form of competitors that are around us, in form of inflation, fluctuation of our economic condition, regulatory challenges, political challenges, and the like. Just try as much as possible to mention some aspects of challenges that you think may come up. Wow. Let's continue. Some other seemingly likely questions or areas that may be tested is the Michael Porter's 5 forces analysis. We just spoke about threats. So that takes this one now, this question takes it further from SWOT analysis. So SWOT can come out and Porter's 5 forces can be examined because there are competitors around, their economic issues around the scenario created. So talking about 5 forces analysis, you need to talk about the threat of new entrants. That is one. You need to talk about the bargaining power of our supplier, those that are supplying us the asphalts, the limestone and the like. You need to mention them. The bargaining power of our buyers, that is the landlords, the builders and the like. We need to talk about the threat that could come from the substitute products. Some producers, some competitors and the like. Also the rival that could come from our competitors and our rivals. So basically, those are the 5 threats. I quickly mention it. We may need to read more on it because we cannot dwell much on it. We need to read up on it. So threats of new entrants, bargaining power of our supplier, bargaining power of our customer, the threat of substitute to our products, and last but not the least, the rival or the competition that we have around us. Those are the things you need to talk about when it comes to the Porter's 5 forces analysis. Let us go into a bit of analyzing the financials now. Analyzing the financials. We could be asked to analyze financials. Okay, I hope you can see this. I hope it's still displaying very well. Okay, so Looking at the loan, we will see that from 2018 it was large, it reduced, and it reduced drastically in 2020. Okay, that suggests something, that we are reducing our indebtedness, right? So that is part of the question that may be asked as regards if we are asked to evaluate the financial performance of Dudley Cement. So we are managing well based on trend analysis. We are managing well our borrowing. Let's look at this dividend. So even though it fluctuates, but our shareholders, we do not neglect them, and we even pay higher currently. Trade payables and the like, from 2018, 19, 2019 we have 30 million, 2020 we have 34 million. So it simply shows an increase in our payable. That simply tells us that we are trying to use credit worthiness to finance our organization. Okay, that these are part of the points you are going to make, right? Return earning, our return earning too, we are retaining more, don't forget here now we are delaying a bit in paying, so we are using credit to finance, and equally we are using our in-house generated monies, that is our profits, are being retained over the years so that we can use it in the organization. So now it simply shows that the organization is driving towards being self-reliant and being self-sufficient. Let's look at the P or L. See the revenue, it's basically increases, right? And I'm just glancing through, right? We have to do real trend analysis, like have a percentage of this now. Like now, I could not tell you the percentage increase, but we could see that it's increasing. We have to present it in form of percentages to the marker. Please don't forget. But this is just a guide on what we need to look out for and do. Okay, so revenue, we are good. Which other aspect that highlights? Look at our finance cost. Our finance cost now from 2018, 800, 4 million, and 3 million. So basically our finance cost is fluctuating. Our finance cost is fluctuating. Is there any financial? Okay, no financials again given. So now this is Dudley Cement's 3-year financial summary given us. Now what I just did is to trend on the 3 years for the organization. So some unseen part of this scenario may be that they give us maybe industrial information or industrial average and like, and you have to analyze against the industrial information. By that time, you will have another set of financials that will not be DCN that you will be trending against. I hope we understand. But based on this one that we were given, we can talk about it and we can conclude about it. So we can talk about the revenue, we can talk about the gross profit, we can talk about the finance cost, we can talk about the operating profit margin. Don't forget that we are not able to compute it now, but you have to compute it. You understand? So I want to believe we know how to compute it. If not, quickly check it up now. It's easy. Quickly check it up. The liquidity, the solvency of the organization. These are some of the things that you can talk about based on the scenario. Now, also another thing that could come up, another question that could most likely come up based on the scenario is ANSOS business growth matrix. Don't forget, we're already talking about expansion to other aspects of the economy. So it can come up in which that we may be asked to work on the business expansion that the board has deliberated about and talk about this aspect now. So what does answer business growth entails? Basically, you need to mention the market penetration, you need to mention market development, product development, and the diversification. All these things are different. They are not the same. When we are talking about market penetration, the company can increase its market share by improving its marketing and distribution efforts or offering or incentive to customers in existing markets. That is market penetration. But when we are talking about market development, that means the market does not exist. We are trying to create it. We are trying to create it, like those aspects of the country that we've not established our presence. So we need to develop even market for our product in that place. Then we develop our product. Just as we can develop the market for it, we must develop the products. So the company can introduce new products. That is what we are talking about, product development. And you know that the board had already discussed it, that we'll be having block Blockbuster, right, and Falcon. Blockbuster and Falcon are the two names of the new products that we were actually developing in R&D, research and development departments. So we need to mention it, and diversification. Diversification, that is having more products in different industries and like to augment. Basically, that is what annual business growth matrix talk about or spoke about. Let me remind us, we can quickly check it up on Google or in our pack. Check it up. Sesame pack is there. ANSOS business growth matrix. Basically, it spoke about four things: the market penetration, the market development, product development, and diversification. These are another guide that we should try as much as possible to look at. We are welcome back. I hope we are not tired. Okay, so before I mentioned the challenges that DCN we have to surmount. Now the question could be, how are they going to surmount it? The challenges that we've earlier mentioned, how will they overcome it to implement their business expansion strategy that they had in mind? The execution challenges, business integration, that is after the merger and acquisition, the market risk, the market may not even be there, we may need to develop it. These are the challenges now which are discussed we are going to how they can overcome it. Also, the financial risk. Now we want to have a new branch somewhere now. Where is the source of finance going to come from? Regulatory risk. We need to form a new company. What name are we going to call? And is it going to be limited liability and the like? Who are the board members? Who are going to be the first shareholders and the like? Those are the challenges that they may encounter in the expansion process. Now, how can they overcome it? Let's take it one after the other. This can be a double barrel question and it can equally be maybe isolated. They can ask us for the challenges, they can ask us for to provide solution, and they give us the challenges. So solution is this now. So they should try, especially when it comes to execution, they should develop a detailed project plan. Let it be in different segments. After we do this, we will do this. So different milestones so that they can measure, and if they need to revert back to where something was wrong, it becomes easier so that they will not jumble everything together. So develop a detailed project limestone or key aspects. So also they should allocate sufficient resources. They should allocate sufficient resources even before the start of the expansion. We should do the cost analysis, source of fund analysis and the like. They should try as much as possible to have a strong internal control group on every aspect of the compliance framework as they begin to roll out implementation. They should, as much as possible, conduct comprehensive market research so that it will minimize the market risk at the end of the day. Not that we've pumped millions or billions into construction of factory, but there is no market. You remember we spoke about market development. Okay. So also they should break all those initiatives, the plan into smaller pieces. I want to believe I've mentioned that they should establish and maintain strong relationship with key stakeholders. They should carry people along, both staff, both the funders, that is those that are putting money down, both the shareholders, the stakeholders, even government in form of tax relief as much as possible. It's going to minimize the risk and challenges that they are going to encounter and face. Implement a robust financial management framework or management system with a focus on maintaining healthy balance between debt and equity finance. It is so important because sometimes they may need to use the two together. Sometimes it may be equity. But when it comes to business expansion, risk management, and the like, many times it's good to go for debt than to go for equity financing. Okay, that may be a bit technical and they may not have expected us to actually go more into the depth of financing world, but just for our information. Also, the contingency, because issues we definitely like the question that we are emphasizing, risk. There will be, even no matter how well we've planned for something, some event will happen that will be wow, we never expected this. So there should be contingency plan to take care of those aspects. I hope we agree as to that. Then by taking all those steps to mitigate the key risk, well, that is associated with the business expansion, Dudley Cement is on its way to business expansion and growth. There are some other questions that may come out. We may be asked about risk management, especially now that risks are out there. So how can they minimize risk, which are some of the things that I've mentioned. Then the impacts of global economic condition, political instability, currency fluctuation on deadly cement. So how can the organization navigate the potential economic and political currency related exchange and things like that? We are already into another question, right? So now, especially the CFO must monitor the global events, regional economic and political trends must be monitored. Don't forget Pestel. We started with Pestel, right? Then we move on to Porter's 5 forces analysis. Please don't forget all these things. Let's, as much as possible, read up on them. There are so much that I just have to do this in this way because to show us the questions and talk about some guide, I think it makes a bit of sense because there's so much that we can talk about and we're already and her now already. I'm feeling like I should stop. I'm actually feeling like I should stop because I know many times we may not want to go to, well, I will try and finish up what I'd planned. I hope that our strength will carry it. Please let our strength carry it through so that at least we will, how will I put it? Laugh last. They say who laugh last, laugh best. Who laugh best. Don't mind me. It's just to encourage us. So let's go back to where we are coming from. So let us quickly look at social responsibility. You know, we talk about social responsibility. Questions could arise from that we should look at CSR. There could be a question like this that for effectiveness of deadly cements on CSR initiative, how can Dudley strengthen his brand reputation using CSR initiative? So these are some of my proposals that we can mention and we can quickly research more into it. When we are talking about corporate social responsibility initiative, organization needs to align its aspect of social responsibility to what is best interest of those it's trying to reach, maybe the environment in which the organization is actually residing and operating from, or the customers is trying to reach, maybe in form of the demographic of the customer and how best to serve them socially. We need to align, deadly need to align its CSR activity towards the core value, the strategic objective, stakeholders' interests. This is key. research has shown that if an organization could align this, actually is sales and revenue we go up, we increase. So if there is any other thing or no other thing you are going to mention, please, for CSR, mention that DCN should align its corporate social responsibility with the core value, with a strategic objective, with stakeholders' interest is highly important. Then they should develop programs that address local community. I've said that along the line, along the way too. They should communicate their CSR efforts. It's very important. They say if one does not blow his own horn or her own horn, who is ready to pick horn and blow for you? You better blow it by yourself. Nobody's ready to blow it for you, that kind of a thing. So they should publicize what they are doing in CSR activities so that people can know. It's when people know that people that have the interest in that particular aspect of life will join forces with Dudley Cement, DCN, maybe to patronize them, maybe to join efforts and contribute and the like. Also, they need to evaluate the impacts of their CSR activity. They need to ensure that the resources they are putting into it is being maximized and yielding expected returns, both to the organizer, that is Deadly Cement now, and to those that those activity ordinarily supposed to benefit. They need to do that. They need to monitor that for effectiveness. Please don't forget. Well, that could be another question in form of how can Deadly Cement leverage on strategic partnership or alliances, collaborations with other organizations, both within or outside the cement industry, to support its strategy on business expansion and market presence. Like the merger and acquisition is a form of collaboration, but those ones may not really be what we really meant by partnership. It's a form of partnership. Acquisition is a form of partnership, but may not really be, because sometimes the organization could be acquired in which they do not even want to sell. There are situations like that. So if a question like this comes, how should we tackle it? Let's tell them that they really need to identify potential partner. It's just like marriage, that we have so many men or so many women does not say that every man is a husband for you, or every woman is a wife for you. Understand? So you must go for your spec and the like. So identify potential partner that you can work with, that Deadly can work with. By the way, now I don't know why I'm talking about marriage now. Okay, let's continue. Establish joint venture. Joint venture many times is better. Joint venture is a form of collaboration in which we come together for a purpose, and once we achieve that purpose, the end has come to joint venture. It's not a do or die affair or until death do us part. Maybe that's the reason I'm talking about marriage now, because it's similar in nature. Okay. Then once we are able to establish who our partner is, and also we are able to create a joint venture in form of a legal formation and the like, then we should collaborate to research and work together, partnering together in form of logistic provision and the like, and cross-industry partnership and the like. Everything begins. We are coming to the close little by little had touched on so many things had touched on, and basically there will be some unseen aspects of case study, like the analysis of competitors, which we do not have now. They are going to bring it up, include it, like the trend analysis that I did. We were not able to compute here now. You will need to compute and take a position. Do you want to use total assets as your trend, as the base of your trend analysis? Please let me know if we know how to compute trend analysis or not. I know I've not even mentioned talk about ratio analysis. Ratio analysis may be an area to look out for and prepare to. And when we are talking about ratio analysis, we need to talk about liquidity ratio, we need to talk about solvency ratio, we need to talk about profitability ratio. And under profitability ratio, you should talk about compute gross profit margin, compute operating profit margin, compute return on equity. And when we are talking about the solvency, we need to, especially when they ask us to expatiate, we need to let them know what the implication, what those ratios meant, and their interpretation thereof. Please don't forget, solvency, debt to equity ratio, do it. Equity ratio, do it. When we are talking about liquidity, don't forget to do your current ratio, acid tests, and the like, basically. And of course, we know that we've been given some information already, especially when it comes to the financials. So if we are to analyze against competitor, we are going to be given the information. And if we are to analyze Thirdly, basically, we are going to be given that there are so many things we can touch on, but not to weary ourselves. I would like to stop here. I want to believe this little, almost one hour and a quarter, almost now. I think if we check more on our aspect of CSME, financial reporting, financial ratio, strategic financial management, and the like, because it is important to pass case study. We must read wide. We need to read wide, not reading high up. Sometimes we may need to read low as define what tax is. It can be as low as that definition of a topic. May not be gym things that we need to. So it is important for us to read very broad, very wide, and of course, God's factor is there, and I think at this juncture, when God letting you, we have to leave you at God's end that is able to make you a chartered accountant. From GJ's Associate Channel, it's a long day already. We have value to life. Benga Latunji FCA has been speaking. We have value to your businesses.